When is the next long shot deal? I don't know. Who knows? It's episode 16 of Shenmue. Hi, we're back. Yeah, so we got Mark let us know a little more about this whole Longja deal crap, and that, you know, stuff might be hitting the fan here soon. I don't know. I think we're really on the final stretch now. At least it feels like it. And of course, we got to do this damn forklift race again. I should have known. Lord.
Good morning, everyone. Morning.
It'd be great if you could just skip these cutscenes.
Daily warm-up race. You all do your best now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like always, 3 laps to the finish. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
On your mark. Almost time to go.
Oh lordy.
Ready? Go!
Oh boy. Well, yeah. So on this episode, I guess we're gonna do some more forklift stuff. I'm sorry. I'm sorry in advance. But yeah. Lord, now I gotta find other stuff to talk about. So I don't know. Hopefully some people took some of my film recommendations seriously, because I was very serious about everything I said on the last episode about the different filmmakers I talked about, the different films I kind of brought up. I don't know. Hopefully maybe you've checked some of them out, or at least looked into them. Even just Googled them. That's always nice to share things like that when I can. I really don't know how much of this game I've got left. I'm hoping, like, within the next episode or two that I'm done. I don't know. I will say this though, like, without question, and I have no doubt in my mind when I say this, I will definitely not be doing Shenmue 2 on this channel. I will probably end up playing it in my own personal time. You know, because why not? But like sitting down and actually going through it I'm not even gonna risk it. Because like this game was good up until all this harbor forklift shit, and then it just became a goddamn parody of itself. I mean, to the point where I'm losing my mind. I'm getting like excessively angry at the game, and on top of that, I'm like literally dedicating an entire episode to just talk about like film and filmmaking and like not anything to do with this game or video games in general. But I don't know, I just like, God, this game had so much potential, and like it's really cool in many respects, but man, it just nosedives so hard once you get to this part of the game. Like I'm really shocked. And actually, a fun fact, I did recently find this out. So apparently, which is not really surprising, because, you know, video games at one point, you know, they used to come on multiple discs if they were big games. You know, like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 on PlayStation, they came in like, I think like 3 and 4 disc sets and stuff like that. Well, Shenmue apparently was a 3-disc Dreamcast game, which I thought was kind of neat. I kind of looked into it because I was curious. Because, you know, playing through Final Fantasy 7, you know, what are you going to say, Mark?
Good for a rookie.
Yeah, I suppose.
Here's your first place prize.
Thanks.
Hope you work as well as you race.
Well, I do, but, you know, whatever. But, you know, kind of like how Final Fantasy 7, like, if you look at...
Today you gotta move cargo between warehouses.
Oh.
Gotcha. First take a crate from here over to warehouse number 8 and unload it there. Then take a crate from warehouse number 8 to warehouse number 18. You know where that is, right?
I take this to warehouse number 8. Then I take number 8 cargo to warehouse number 18.
Yep. But careful you don't get mixed up.
Oh my God.
The quarter's written on the map.
I got it.
Okay, that is somewhat different. I will give them that. But like I was saying, kind of how, like with Final Fantasy 7, if I, you know, like the biggest chunk of the game is on the first disc. Like that's like the biggest chunk. And then like the second disc is mostly side quest material, and then the third disc is literally just it's literally just like the last dungeon and whatever. This game actually has something kind of similar going on. So like the first disc of Shenmue is like, you know, all of the stuff in Yokosuka and all of the a lot of the plot development. The second disc is like you know, it's literally just like kind of like getting into the harbor initially, and then you know, a little bit of side stuff there. And the third disc is literally just the forklift stuff, which I kind of had a feeling was the case, but I'm really still kind of shocked that that's a thing. That the entire third disc of this game is literally dedicated to just the goddamn forklift stuff. I don't know though. I gotta get this over to 18, right? It's actually a little bit more confusing than I would have expected it to be. Right? Come on. But yeah, like, I mean, I guess they were taking advantage, like, they took advantage of the space on the discs and, you know, did what they could, but, like, that to me is kind of illustrative of my issues with this game to begin with. It's like that tells me everything I need to know, unfortunately. Which is like, oh, I see. With this, they knew, like they knew that this was a unbelievably large chunk of the game that just didn't need to be a thing. Which drives me up a damn wall when I think about it. Like, why on earth? Like, why is this a thing? I don't know. This one's actually interesting though. I kind of like the more purposeful nature of this forklift job. Like actually, you know, taking boxes to one spot and then, you know, picking up more at the first drop. Like that's kind of cool. I can dig that. I'm not like absolutely hating this. Like this, at least like this. There's some thought involved with this. Like you don't feel like, oh, the boxes are in here though. Like you don't feel like you're just. It doesn't feel like a complete waste of time. Just only a slight waste of time. Because you know, there's a little more thought going in here. Like I can't just, you know, like I actually have to pay attention to where I'm going and how I'm. Go. Get out of the way. My God. Fucking NPCs though. What's the quota? 10, huh? Okay. Ooh. Damn, that could be tough, actually. We'll see. I'm trying to think of anything even remotely interesting to talk about. Like I am thoroughly kind of. Because like there's nothing to talk about this. Like there's nothing about this to talk about. Like this is exactly what it is. You know, warts and all. This is it. I mean, there's just nothing else to any of this. Which I kind of find to be a very strange thing about this game. Like that's gonna be the strangest aspect of Shenmue that I've kind of come to understand. You know, having now played through a good chunk of it, and, you know, like I'm genuinely shocked at how little there is to really say about anything in it. Like it's really like Like, this game seems way bigger than it actually is. And I don't necessarily mind that in theory, like, but when it becomes readily apparent that there just isn't a whole lot else going on in this game, other than, well, you're just, you know, you're just waiting for stuff to happen. It's like, that's, man, it just doesn't make for a very exciting experience. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I'm definitely not doing Shenmue 2 on here. I've actually been discussing that with a few friends. I've been trying to figure out like what I might do next. BioShock Infinite seems to be the kind of weird favorite right now, which I would be happy to do, especially following this game. I would be very happy to do just that. But like, I know I also need to actually sit down and totally finish Resident Evil 2 Remake. That's another thing that I've been kind of hemming and hawing about a little bit. Like, because I got to do the Claire B scenario, and like, I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I really, really felt like I almost got burnt out just doing Leon's campaign. Like, that game is harder than I expected it to be. Like, way harder than I expected it to be. And I don't see that as a criticism. I don't, you know, I'm not saying like, oh, it's so bad that it was so hard. Like, far from it. I was actually like pleasantly surprised at the difficulty scale or difficulty slide of Resident Evil 2 Remake. Like, I felt like it got, like, it started off as one thing, but it got harder as it progressed, and it was like on a natural scale. It didn't feel like it just threw a goddamn difficulty wall at you. Like, it genuinely felt natural. But I don't know. I do need to get on that. But I was also kind of thinking I would do something maybe small in between, like finish this, and instead of just jumping straight into like BioShock Infinite or something, like actually sort of do something smaller scale. You know, something I could probably knock out in an afternoon rather than, you know, a month. But I don't know yet. I'm still working that out. But I don't know. Comment. Let me know. I'm always open for suggestions. Honestly, at this rate, I mean, I'm like, currently I've been just sort of spinning my wheels quite a bit. I'm like really excited because it's like I woke up yesterday and I honestly was shocked at how close we are to being...
Hey, bro!
Oh, what is this?
Hey, Goro?
Bro, I'm gonna settle down and go straight. Gets me a real job, work hard, and marry her.
Marry? But she's too young.
Don't you know, Ryo? Girls can get married from 16.
Oh.
But to Goro?
Well, Goro, he's not so bright, but he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, but Goro...
Well, bro, be seeing you around.
See ya!
Okay. Do we really need to make a... It seems Goro and Mai are getting married. Do we really need to make a note of that? Oh lord, now I've completely lost track of what I was saying. But yeah, like, any suggestions are appreciated. Just, you know, think small. You know, for the life of me, I need a break from something that takes fucking... I don't even know how many hours I put into this game so far. I hadn't even looked at that. It's probably an embarrassing amount at this rate. And I'm like less than thrilled at the thought. But I mean, I don't know. Like, if I were to give I'll put it this way: if I were to give this game a tentative score, like if I were reviewing it and I were to give it a numerical score of some sort, it's
Toy capsules. 100 yen each, huh?
Honest to God, I would.
One.
I'm thinking a 7, but I'm damn tempted to just say a 6 out of 10. Like, that's sort of where I'm at on this. Like, there's a lot to appreciate in it. There's a lot I think is worthwhile, but like at the same time, it just nosedives so hard in its last third that I really cannot. Like, I would not even. I'm having a tough time even thinking about recommending this to people, because my problems with it really don't happen until like way later into the game, and I don't know. Like, I feel
Maybe
like
I should get another.
I don't know. I feel like some people probably would get something out of this, but I don't really know if it would be a worthwhile investment. So I'm thinking like a 6 or a 7 out of 10.
What? This again?
Probably closer to a 6. Like, and I'm not.
I should try again.
And mind you, like on my sort of grading scale in my head, like a 6 out of 10 does not mean it is a shit game. Like a shit game is more like a 2. You know, like that would be like, wow, this game is unplayable and it's barely works.
This again?
And it's got no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Like, this game's got a lot of redeeming qualities. It really does. I mean, I think
maybe I should get another.
in many ways it's genuinely a charming game. Like, it's got a very cozy, charming atmosphere. You know, the story when it's front and center, I actually really like. I really like the story. I just wish that the game would
What? This again?
kind of. I wish it would have made that the point rather than
I should
the
try again.
immersive qualities, which I feel take away from the story more often
Change
than
my
not.
mind.
Because, like, I know in the last few episodes, I've just completely
101
lost
each.
any remote interest in, like, Landy and
Maybe
the
just one.
Chiyu men and you know, Rio getting revenge. Like, that whole narrative has just kind of fallen to the wayside. It's just literally crashed and burned because it's turned into a fucking forklift simulator, and that's like,
This is cool.
it is cool, and that's a shame. It's a real shame because I feel like the story actually
I
has
should
merit,
try again.
and I'm genuinely intrigued about a lot of the more obscure details of the story. Like, you know, who exactly is Landy? What's his connection to Rio's father? What's going on with these mirrors? What are these things? And is there some kind of like?
I know this.
Is there some kind of magic involved with this stuff? Like, you know, Master Chen was talking about how Landy, if he had
Maybe
both
I should
mirrors,
get
he could
another.
summon some kind of destructive force. Like, that kind of shit gets me interested. But, like, when that's spread out over, like, 8 hours for no apparent reason, when, like, I get a little bit here and then 8 hours later
This
I get
again?
a little bit more, like, my interest just immediately disappears.
Maybe I
cannot
should get another.
I cannot stay interested in stuff like that. I wish I could, but I can't. Which is ironic, because last episode I was talking about Andrei Tarkovsky, and the way his films work, they're literally about being very slow-paced, and they're very, you know,
I know this.
they're very explicit in trying to provide an
I should
audience
try
with
again.
the feeling of time moving forward in the cinema. And I love that, but keep in mind that's a passive medium. I'm watching that. I'm invested in it because I'm watching it, and I'm making connections, and I'm using my brain a little bit.
Hey,
This,
what's this?
like, the fact that there's interactive elements in this is almost like it's a big ass tease. Like, oh, there's all this stuff you
I
can
should
do,
try again.
but none of it really amounts to anything. It doesn't lead anywhere. It's just there's a bunch of shit to do to distract you from the fact that you're waiting around for like 2 or 3 hours for something to happen to move the story or move the game really
It's
forward.
the same one.
So I mean, I don't know. I'd say a 6 out of 10. I'm
Maybe I should
I'm
get
gonna stick
another.
with that. I'll stick with that. 6 out of 10. Might be some people who get pissed at me for saying that because they'll be like, "Well, you haven't even finished the game yet." I mean, considering there's not that much left,
It's the same one.
I'm confident in my
I should try
opinion there.
again.
Confident to just say it's a 6 out of 10.
Not today.
And again, I don't think
100 yen each.
I don't think a 6 means it's bad. It's not bad. It's got a lot of redeeming
should buy
qualities.
one.
It's got stuff that I know some people would absolutely fucking love. But like, you know, it's like, but there's so many caveats with that. To say, well,
Oh.
you know, you might like this, but the problem persists with this whole,
I
like,
should
but
try again.
nothing happens for a lot of the game. Like, a lot of the game is you not doing a whole lot of anything. It's mostly just walking around, you know, and exhausting NPC dialogue, and that's just not really fun. Like, that's, you know,
I know this.
for 1999 maybe, But even if I were, like, even if it were me from
I should try
1999, I guarantee I would have the same problems that I'm having right now. I would say it's interesting, it's cool, but like what when you put it all together, are you really like, is it really enjoyable? And it's like, no, not really.
Hey, what's this?
Looks like a ship steering wheel. And I believe I'm out of time. I think I'm back to work now, so damn it.
I should try again.
No, we don't have time, Rio.
I'll pass.
Surely I must be close to having, because like one of the trophies for the game is like you have to get 50 unique gotcha ball items. I must be.
It's already this late?
I have to be dangerously close to achieving that, surely.
First, take the cargo to warehouse number 8. Then, go to warehouse number 18.
Okay, well, simple enough. But I guess that's kind of my, like, my weird thesis for this episode. It's like, I'm trying to explain myself, like, I don't hate this game. I don't think it's, I don't think it's some kind of, like, irredeemable piece of trash. Like, it's not. It's got a lot of really cool stuff going on in it. And, you know, I do. I respect Yu Suzuki. I respect his dev team. I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. I think he's an extremely talented game designer. But I also kind of feel like this one is, I can't help but kind of feel like this is sort of the game that got away from him, like, considerably. Like, it's so plainly obvious to me, like, this game was way too much for the hardware it was being designed for. It's way too much for the dev team that he was working with. Like, it's just not, like, I don't know, like, and this is an argument I know I've heard before, because there are some people who genuinely think, like, well, you know, as a matter of fact, good example, Pathologic 2, or just Pathologic in general. If you have any idea what anything about that game, it's a PC game that the developers who made it insist that it was not designed to be fun. You know, that's designed to be difficult, it's designed to be obtuse, it's designed to make you think and to make you kind of uncomfortable, and like, from what I can gather, I have not played either Pathologic or its sequel, but from what I could honestly gather, it seems as though the developers genuinely, you know, succeeded at that, but the caveat with that being is that I really don't buy into this idea that the game isn't fun, because if the game wasn't fun, nobody would play it, right? Like, that's kind of my take on it. Like, it's got, like, from what I've seen, it's got, like, survival mechanics, you know, like a thirst meter, a hunger meter, stuff like that. You know, you've got, like, weapons and items that need to be repaired on a regular basis. I mean, there's, like, gamey shit in it. And, you know, regardless of what the developers say, well, you know, we're trying to make it a unique gaming, blah, blah, blah. You're still working with basic game design principles of, like, okay, there are systems, there are numbers, you know, the players have to do item management, like, you know, just standard video game stuff. And I feel like this game just doesn't do that. Like, there really isn't item management in this game. There really isn't, like, there's a very light amount of what I would sort of call puzzle solving, but not anything like that. Nothing like you might expect in a video game. Like, there's nothing here that's like anchoring me down and making me think, like, oh yeah, you know, like, this is really fun. It's just the game feels like a kind of a chore, and I feel like maybe Yu Suzuki kind of wanted to, like, that might have been sort of what he was going for. I think that's what the aim was to sort of create this immersive, like, oh, you've got a day-to-day job, oh, you've got scheduled NPCs, oh, you've got meetings to go to, and you've got to meet people at certain times of day. Like, that stuff is neat, kind of, but, like, it's also not very gamey. It's more like if he'd have called this game Rolodex the Game, I honestly think that would be a more accurate representation of what's going on here. You know, personal planning the game. So I don't know. I like games that kind of like try to do different stuff, and I like games that are Like a really good example, like A Night in the Woods. Really perfect example what I'm getting at. Like, that's a game that doesn't have it's not presented like it's presented like a 2D platformer, but it's not really that. It's sort of a kind of, you know, choice-based sort of adventure game. Check it out if you haven't. It's really quite good. But there's like enough variety in it where you're doing other things that are like there's like a rhythm game in the game. There's like a weird little a little like PC game you can play in the game. There's like all this stuff you can do in game that like keeps you coming back, like keeps you, okay, I want to see how this develops, and I want to see what I'll do next with Greg, and I want to see what, you know, what, oh, I wonder what this mystery is, and, you know, stuff like that. And the game has all of these hooks, these really gamey hooks that I think I totally, what did I do? I've done something wrong. What have I done wrong? Let me grab another one of these boxes. I've done something totally wrong here. But, you know, it's like, this game just doesn't have any of that. It's just not much of a game. It's like this has more in common with like Farm Simulator than it does, you know, anything else I can think of. And I'm just like, I appreciate the idea, but I'm not a fan of it. It's not something I would actively attempt to you know, look for. If I'm looking at different video games, this is not something that I would thrive on, I don't think. It's like, for me, like, the more I think about it, it's not really that surprising that I never attempted to play this ever. Like, I can kind of see, it's almost as though maybe subconsciously I sort of knew. Maybe that's why I delayed this playthrough so much. Like, maybe I subconsciously knew that this was going to be that I would not like this, or that there would be aspects of this game that would irritate me and make me not want to play it. Because I mean, it's just, I don't know. I guess I'm a little simple-minded in that respect when it comes to video game design. Maybe maybe I'm not the outside the box thinker when it comes to that. You know, maybe film is more my alley with that kind of mindset. But like, this is just not. This is not something I would like actively seek out. I need far more than this to really, you know, truly enjoy something, like, you know, enjoy a video game. I mean, I need engagement, and I'm sorry, but immersion does not always equal engagement. Like, immersion is a good thing more often than it isn't, but like, there are times when immersion is just not. You know, actually, I can think I've got a really good comparison to make here, because it's like there's another game that I think of that I know for a fact is not really that great, and it's made worse due to the fact that, like, the developers clearly were more interested and more concerned with immersion than they were with making a game that was genuinely fun to play. But I don't know if anybody remembers this, but back on the original Xbox, I believe, Capcom published a game called Steel Battalion. And Steel Battalion had a really interesting gimmick. It was a mech game where you pilot a giant, you know, mech. Pretty standard, bog standard stuff. You know, you've seen it before. Probably won't be the last time we see it. But the gimmick behind it was that Capcom, with the game, they sold the game along with a special controller, which is more like a control panel. They literally sold the game with a giant, oversized control cockpit panel that was supposed to help you immerse yourself in the idea of piloting a giant mech. And I mean, it had, like, I think over 100 unique, like, buttons and switches on it, and like the manual for it is like ridiculous, and it's huge, and like, it's really cool. Like, it's a really cool idea. Like, go look that up on Google. Go, like, type in and like look up Steel Battalion full controller, you know, setup. It's insane. Like, it's like the coolest thing ever. But like, if you look at reviews of that game, which it did very poorly critically. And part of the reason it did poorly was that people said, basically to the effect of, wow, this is a real pain in the ass to play. It's so obtuse, it's ridiculous. Like, you literally have to do homework to figure out how to play the game. It's immersive once you actually figure out how the game works. But, like, it's just such a chore to, like, actually sit down and play Steel Battalion, and I feel this game is in the same boat. This game just is a chore to play. It's not fun. It's not engaging. It's not really, you know, the narrative's engaging when it exists, but overall it's not very fun to play. And so thus I give it a 6 out of 10. And I think that's a fair score because I'm not trashing it. Not saying it's the worst game ever. I mean, it's not. It's playable. But like, I mean, what am I doing right now? I mean, what is that? Like, what am I actually doing? I'm doing busy work. Like, I'm getting flashbacks to elementary school when I would finish my assignments way ahead of schedule, you know, because I'm not fucking dumb. And and I would just be sitting there doing busy work because I had literally nothing else to do. Because I was sitting around waiting for something to happen, and that's this game in a nutshell. You're literally doing a bunch of busy work and a bunch of stuff that has no bearing on anything, waiting around for the next event to happen. And that's not great. Like, that's not a great thing. You know, and like I think I mentioned, like, I've read reviews of Shenmue 2, and like there seem to be indicators that seem to point out that, like, yeah, okay, you know, the game is definitely, like, the game is better. Like, they did kind of look at a lot of the stuff they were doing, and they thought, okay, we need to fix that. We need to make this a little more streamlined and a little more enjoyable. Give the player more stuff to do, you know, and give them, you know, more importantly, give more stuff to do and have it be, like, more integrated in the overall arc of what Rio is doing, rather than it just being this sort of arbitrary busy work. But, like, I mean, for a first try, this is rough. Like, this is really rough.
Finished for the day.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm just picky.
Okay, good job. Here's today's pay.
I think I beat that quota by a shit ton, by the way.
Thanks.
You met quota, son. So starting tomorrow, you'll get a 50 yen raise. That'll be 550 yen per crate.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
I don't know. Now I guess we get to see if there's
Yes,
some kind of
thank you very
event
much.
or something happens. I don't know. What is in the list? When is the next Long Jia deal? And see, now this is the other issue I have with this game, because it's like, it's not enough that, like, the well, I don't know. I don't necessarily like, this is sort of, again, like, this is where my opinion kind of diverges, like, in two very different directions depending on what aspect I'm focusing on. Because, like, I like the idea of the game giving you only kind of the bare minimum to work with in terms of, like, what you need to do next. Like, okay, so I need to find out about this guy or this thing. Who would I talk to about that? Who would I discuss this with? And, like, I'm fine with that in theory. Like, I have no problem with it. I think stuff like that in games is pretty cool, especially when the game designers allow you to kind of read the environment to a certain extent, and to get, like, to use environmental clues and to use NPC clues to sort of piece together where you need to go and what you need to do. But, like, at the same time, this game is so directionless. Like, it takes it to such an extreme that more often than not, I feel like 75% of this playthrough has been just this, of me just walking around, you know, trying my best to piece together who it is I need to talk to or what it is I need to do. So like on my first thought here, I guess I could talk to Mark, but I guarantee you Mark's just gonna give me canned dialogue. I don't think
Mark.
he's gonna.
Dio, I got some big news.
Oh.
Huh?
I
Hello.
overheard Tony and Smith saying that a Long Ja is going down soon.
Really? When's it gonna happen?
Maybe within the next few days.
I see.
Be careful, Dio.
Yeah, you too, eh?
No problem. I'm cool. But I'm worried about you, Dio.
Dio.
The date of the Long Jaw. Someone must know.
Yeah, but finding out ain't gonna be easy. To them, it's like a really big deal, you know?
Maybe the only option is to ask them directly.
Well, maybe, but Dio,
Believe me, I know. But I'm prepared to take the risk.
Dio,
Mark,
and whatever you do, don't get in too deep.
Okay, so two foreigners I rarely see, Tony and Smith, are part of Long Ja. Okay, well, I have no idea who they are. Well, what are the names? Tony and Smith? So, like, maybe, well, because they had, like, you know, the foreigners, they, like, when they say that, they usually just mean Americans. So I'm assuming it might be one of those guys who keep fucking around with Rio, like, on my lunch break and stuff. That's my only real guess here, because I really don't know, wouldn't know who else to look into in that regard. I'm getting the impression, though, that there's not a whole lot else I need to do here. At least it's not feeling like there is anything else for me to do here. Hold on. I'm actually going to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 20, 23, 4, 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I literally need one more, I think. Let me go do that real quick. I might as well. Because I'm sorry, I like to get achievements. That's like a thing that's sort of... I used to not really ever care about them, but like lately I have been... Like, if I can get them, I always feel delighted when I do. I don't know why. It's like, oh, I did that thing. But, at the same time, I also can guarantee I probably will not be returning to this game anytime soon. I don't know if I will ever play this game again. Because that's kind of my thing with this also. And, you know, maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Because I could be wrong. I'm not infallible by any stretch.
Hey, what's this?
But that might have done it.
I should try again.
No, let's not. I'm not infallible by
not
any
today.
stretch, but like I just get the impression that, like, especially with regards to replay value, that Shenmue just doesn't have a lot. You know, which sucks, but I mean, what can you do? Like, I don't, like, I just get the impression that, again, this game, you know, based on
Yeah, sure.
how it's designed and what it's attempting to do and what it's trying to do. I just
Sure, draw a raffle ticket.
I don't buy this as being a very replayable game. I'm sure there are many who would disagree with me on that.
I won.
Oh my god.
Wow, congratulations. Pick the one you like.
Okay,
Barry,
this
that
one.
looks really cool.
Here you go.
But I mean, you know, maybe some people do get, you know, replay value out of this, and I don't doubt there are people who really like this game and who probably have played it multiple times. I'm not gonna be one of those people though. I'm just not. I'm not one of those people. I can't even get excited about the prospect of revisiting this at this rate.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.
But at the very least, I do appreciate the fact that I have played through it. Like, I do appreciate the experience.
Sure, draw a raffle ticket.
I just, you know, it's not a very...
No win.
It's not a very great experience,
That's
I guess.
too bad.
I don't know. I feel like I got kind of... How do I put it? I feel like I got kind of caught up, like, cause if you read people's opinions online
I'll take this.
about this game, especially in the last few years.
Thank you very much.
You know, what with, you know, this re-release.
Sure,
and,
draw a raffle ticket.
You know, the fact that I almost said Yakuza 3. Shenmue 3 is happening. It's coming out at the end of this year, or in November, I
No
think.
win.
After Death Stranding.
Try
So-
again another time.
I know where my priorities are there, but I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't want to say I didn't get tricked. Like, people's opinions were very positive with regards to this game. It's just I think that there's a lot of I feel like a lot of people who like were really waxing poetic about this game were also
I should
people
look around a bit more.
we're also people who probably haven't played it since it released on Dreamcast. Because I just cannot imagine anybody really throwing tons of just straight up praise at this game without there being like caveat after caveat after caveat with regards to the content, with regards to how it works, with regards to its pacing. It's the pacing, really. That's the thing that kills it. And I wish that wasn't the case, but it is. Like, it's really just the extremely like drip dropped slow pace of this game that just makes it not so great. Like, just not very fun. You know, And like, you know, again, like a lot of the side stuff, you know, the arcade games, the gotcha ball, like none of that really matters. Like, none of that amounts to anything. It's all this stuff feels like a bunch of not creative, but like design dead ends where they just never really get anywhere. Like, it's kind of sad, really, like, because there's a lot of I see a lot of other games that picked up after this one, and you can tell like there were some genuinely good ideas. Again, I think I made reference to the Yakuza games. Like, those are genuinely really good games, and like there's a lot of this in them. Not so much the way in which you interact with the world, but like the fact that there's a lot of side content, and all the side content in the Yakuza games are all very... I mean, a lot of them devolve directly into Kiryu just beating the shit out of people, admittedly. But, like, there's a lot of really good writing going on. There's a lot of fun stuff in them. A lot of funny, like, weird, idiosyncratic, damn near surreal stuff in the Yakuza games that I just love. And, like, stuff like that I like. Like, basically all of the side content boils down... A lot of it boils down to Kiryu talks to some weird people. Funny dialogue, weird situation... Kiryu has to beat the shit out of people, and it's like that. You would think that would get monotonous, but it really doesn't, because the developers were really smart in making sure that you know, like that you would engage with it, and that there would be reasons to engage with it. You get rewards for doing side quests. You get fun cutscenes. You get new techniques to use, new martial arts shit to play with. You get you got achievements tied to a lot of them. You get new costumes. Like, I was delighted when in Yakuza 0, I won't spoil the whole thing, but there is a side quest where you get where Kiryu somehow becomes a producer. And he gets this costume that I absolutely adore, and it was like I was so delighted by that entire side quest, and it devolved. Like, at one point it actually does. It starts off and it tricks you, and you think, oh wait, this is more like a choose your own adventure type thing, and then it surprises you by devolving into a fucking fist fight. But it's great because it knows what it's doing. Whereas this game, like, side content, it doesn't go anywhere. Like, you don't get anything for doing any of it. It's like, oh well, you need to kill some time. Well, you can play Hang On. Like, oh, wow. Like, great. Like, Hang On's awesome, but, like, I'm not gonna play Hang On for two in-game hours. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, that's insane. That's not worthy of my time. That's not fun. And also, I guess it's pretty obvious. I am calling warehouse number 8 because I'm a tool and I really don't know what else to do here. So I'm gonna go talk to what is his name? Is it Guizhong? I think. I really am having trouble keeping up with a lot of these names because I just don't care anymore. I think it is Guizhong though. Who is cool?
Hello?
Mother's Earth.
Earth. Comrades.
Comrades.
Father's Heaven. 9 dragons.
9 dragons.
I will at least
Warehouse
probably
number
always
8.
remember this
Master
fucking
Chen,
bullshit.
please.
Excuse me, but you are...
My name is Hazuki.
Just a moment. What is it?
Yeah. I must consult Master Chen. Arrange us a meeting.
Father's not
Mother's
here.
not around.
Well, could you meet me? I need to talk.
Tell me if you must.
But yeah, I'll go talk to him and then... Because, like, I don't really know what else I need to do here. Like, it won't let me leave. Which is, like, crazy town. I don't understand why that is the case, but... Which, that's the other thing, too. Like, that's something I really am very... Like, that is probably the most puzzling conceit of this game. That it still, at this point, baffles me. Is that, like, they will gate you off in this area. And it's like... You know...
Hey, you!
Like, if you've exhausted
Excuse me,
all of your options...
I need to meet Master Chen.
What's your name?
Dio Hazuki.
You should be able to
I've
leave.
been expecting you, sir.
I'm assuming.
Please,
But, like,
go on in.
when the game isn't letting you know that you've isn't letting you know that there's still options to exhaust, then it's like really maddening that I can't just leave like that, like, and maybe go do something else. But I don't know. Like, it's just stuff like that. Like, it's just like there's a lot of mindful design choices in this game, but a lot of them aren't mindful towards the player, if that makes any sense. Like, they're mindful towards other aspects, and the player is just kind of like, well, whatever, you know. Oh, they'll be okay with that, maybe. It won't be a big deal. They'll get over it.
Guizan,
You.
I want to ask you something.
I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Get out of here.
Man.
Really?
Guizan,
Don't you understand? I don't have time to listen to your bullshit.
I got it.
Well, if you've got it, then get out.
Well, okay. I tried. But yeah, but like when stuff like that happens, when it's like, oh, I can still look into things. Oh, there's still people to talk to. It's like, well, sure, but like if I'm gonna be sitting around literally talking to NPC 1 through 6, and they all say essentially the same thing, and I get literally no forward movement from any of it, then it's like, why are you forcing me to do that? Like, especially if more than likely, and this is just a random guess, but I guarantee you I'm probably right. Especially when more than likely I can't do any, like, nothing will progress until the next day anyway. So I don't know. It's such a weird. I just find that to be such a strange conceit for a game like this. Like for a game that touts itself as
I
being
should go home.
being immersive to the point of like, oh, you can kind of do whatever, you can take it at your own pace. The game sure as shit likes to funnel you into its own very specific pace, and it just seems like it's totally at odds with itself. Where on the one hand it wants to be this really open-ended experience, but on the other hand it's like, oh, but actually no, you still got shit to do. So I don't know. It's a very strange game. Very strange design conceits in this. You know. And I'm sure some people are like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And I'm not saying it is bad. I'm just really, more than anything, I'm just saying I'm not liking that. But if you like it, I mean, more power to you if you actually enjoy this. I would be delighted. I would be delighted to hear a positive opinion about this game. Like, and not some fucking puff piece that you see on the internet about, oh, Shenmue is the greatest game you've never played. You know, but just like like an honest to God, just normal human being. Like, if you like this game, let me know why. Like give me, you don't have to give me some weird like fucking master's thesis rundown, but I mean like just, you know, what about it? Like what you know, what is it that you like? Because more than likely it's an aspect of the game I hate. But what, you know, what about those aspects do you like? Because I don't know. I have a hard time. I just have a hard time believing that there are people that passionate about this game. Like, it is such a weird, like I mean I feel like it's two trucks literally colliding into each other. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, how there can be such a positive word of mouth buzz about this game, and yet at the same time it just doesn't live up to anything I've ever read or heard about this game. Like, it doesn't live up to its praise, and I'm just so curious about that, because very rarely do I bump into stuff like that. More often than not, what I'm used to is, in my personal experience with video games in general, is like a lot of times I'll play a game that is usually trashed to hell and back critically. You know, where critical consensus is like, it's awful, it's trash, it's not fun, it's not good. And then I'll sit down and play it and think, God damn, like, did everybody have a bad day that week? Like, why did this game get trashed so poorly? You know, like, why on earth? But this is like the complete polar opposite of that. This game has gotten so much praise over the years and has been fondly remembered by so many people, and has been so, like Sega at one point was talking about, this is a few years ago, they were talking about, like, you know, fan demand for remasters and stuff, and I think like Skies of Arcadia got brought up a couple of times, and the Panzer Dragoon games got brought up, but then they were like, but the game week, like, and they seemed genuinely shocked about it too, which kind of should have probably been a hint to me. It was like Sega was genuinely shocked by just the sheer amount of requests they would get to re-release Shenmue and its sequel, and they just seemed completely perplexed by that. Like, oh my God, like, Western audiences apparently really want this game, and we really do not know why. And like, because, you know, and I don't think it was like a large number of people, but it was just like really vocal people, like, really wanted this game to be re-released. And I gotta say, I'm a little perplexed by all of that, all things considered. And, you know, in having played it now, again, I don't think it's a bad game, but I just really don't really understand what the, like, how this game dug its claws into the people that it did. Like, I don't, and perhaps maybe it's one of those you had to be there games, like it's one of those games that you had to play it when it came out. You had to play it within the context of the year and the time frame it was released, and you have to, you know, you had to be there and see the game as compared to other games that were releasing that year or other games that were around it. And I think that might play a big part in it, but even still, like, you know, I would rather rally around a game that aged well than rally around a game that was great 20 or 30 years ago, but didn't age well at all. Like, you know, it's just not, it's like, I don't know. I have trouble balancing that in my head, I guess. You know, like, and you know, and I'm not saying like, oh, people's opinions were wrong. Like, certainly not. Just to make that very clear, everyone on this planet is entitled to an opinion. I heartily believe that, and you know, and I value opinions. You know, as long as they're actual opinions and not just bullshit troll fucks. But I mean, like, you know, if you really like this game, great, and I'm happy for you. I'm glad you enjoy it. I just consider me one of those people who's just thoroughly confused as to why. Like if you said you liked the first half of it, really, like, if you had that kind of passion explicitly about the first half of the game, I would understand that. That I would agree with, because I think the game does some really cool shit in its first half. But then the second half, it's like the whole game just kind of Like, why? Why on earth did it nosedive this badly? Like, who thought this was a good idea? Because, like, it just wasn't. Like, the forklift stuff, the getting a job stuff, like, all of that sounds great on paper, but the fact that you're actually sitting around doing it for an hour per play session is just, like, that's crazy to me. That is a crazy idea. You know. But I guess that's it for this episode. I think I've run out of stuff to talk about, and I think I've just about run out of time. So in the next episode, we've got some clues now, so maybe the next episode will be a big forward movement, I hope. It'll either be a big forward movement for the narrative, or it'll just be a big bowel movement for my brain. I don't know which. Tune in next time to find out. In any case, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed time with me, because that's really what this feels like at this point. It just feels like an extended, like a weird podcast where you're just listening to me drone on about whatever I feel like talking about. But in any case, like, subscribe, and comment at your leisure as usual, and hopefully you'll join me for some more Shenmue. I think we're almost done. Regardless, thank you again, and hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Got a question.